Welcome today. We're at Angullong in the historic village of Millthorpe at their cellar door. And we're with Ben Crossing, who's given up some time to show us some wine. Ben's part of the Crossing family that own Angullong. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Dave. Welcome to Millthorpe, to our cellar door. Lovely spring day we're having here. Plenty happening in Orange at the moment, in spring. Plenty happening in the vineyard.
What are you guys doing in the vineyard at the moment?
Oh, look, so we're well into the growing season,
Yep.
and so we're just the usual things we're doing with applying sprays,
Slashing
madly, because the grass has just gone mad. We've had such a great season, and then we've got all the other things happening because Angullong's we've got plenty of other things happening on the farm as well, making hay and silage and cattle work. So there's plenty happening.
Yeah,
and,
good. What given the cellar door here is it's a nice little cosy, intimate cellar door. What can people expect when they turn up for visiting?
Yeah, well, Millthorpe's a great little village. It's only a stone's throw from Orange. There's two other cellar doors in Millthorpe. In fact, Tamber Lane and Slow Wines are here in Millthorpe as well. And there's some very good restaurants and gift shops, and it's just got a nice feel to it.
Yeah, it's a lovely little.
Yeah, there's some B&Bs and a nice motel here, and pub and bowling club. So it's got all the great things. Yeah, so there's plenty to do here, and you can just stroll around the village and take in the atmosphere, particularly this time of year where it's fantastic in
Nice.
spring.
It's nice.
Yeah,
It's a good time to be here.
Yeah.
So we've got. So you guys produce a lot of, I guess, emerging varieties. Tempranillo, Barbera. I guess the Shiraz Viognier is not necessarily an emerging variety, but tell why go down the track? I think you've planted vineyards 25 years ago or so. Why plant those alternate varieties?
Yeah, look, when we did establish the vineyards back in, about 21, 22 years ago, we obviously had the opportunity to put in some other varieties. So at the time, they're only very small plantings of these varieties, and they were sort of experimental at the time, really. And we thought, well, being a relatively new brand, a relatively unknown region at Orange at the time, 20 odd years ago, we thought we'd do that and see how they went. So the first plantings were Sangiovese and Barbera for the alternative varieties, just small patches, and they've been successful for us.
And is that being, I think the vineyard's around the 600 metre elevation mark, which is sort of the boundary of Orange.
Yep.
Does that help with these red varieties? Helps a little bit warmer, I guess?
Yes, definitely. I think just stylistically, I mean, the thing about Orange region, and for people that aren't familiar with it, is it's got so many little microclimates, and it's all altitude based. So when you're up high, up the mountain at sort of 900 metres, well, you've got different sort of microclimate to what we've got down at 600 metres, the southern side. So our vineyard is predominantly planted to reds, where we do certainly have whites there as well.
The Sauvignon Blanc's an absolute ripper.
Yeah, so at that altitude, at around that sort of 600 metres, it's about the ripening of the fruit, the grapes, the red grape being later ripeners. We get them riper because we do ripen slightly earlier than some of the higher parts. A little bit more of that ripe, sort of plusher type of style of fruit, of wine that we.
Well, I guess we should have a bit of a look. So the Barbera.
I think we should start with that. Yeah.
So the Angullong Barbera, Fossil Hill Barbera. What's Fossil Hill? What's the relevance of the name Fossil Hill?
Yeah, look, so Angullong is the name of our property, our vineyard, and it's had that name ever since we've been there. My grandfather bought the property back in the late 40s, 1950. They moved here from out west, and so it's on the Ballubula River, so we draw water out of the Ballubula River for irrigation. The Ballubula starts and runs through Carcoar and down to Canowindra out west and eventually gets into the Lachlan. So we're pretty lucky we've got that water source there. And the Fossil Hill, all that area is, as you drop down towards the river, there's the natural history of that area is quite interesting. You've got the fossils from the Ordovician period. And I guess, so what we're doing by calling it Fossil Hill, we're sort of talking about the natural history of the land and the land.
The terroir, I guess.
Yeah, the terroir, exactly, and that's quite unique.
So what are we looking for in a Barbera? People necessarily au fait with a Barbera, and they might drink Merlot or they may drink some standard sort of varieties.
Yeah, well, the background the backstory with Barbera is that it's an Italian grape variety, so it comes from Piedmonte, so northern cool parts of Italy where they grow Nebbiolo and they make Barolo.
Yep.
Barbera is probably considered to be the lunchtime wine, the non-serious wine there, I guess you'd say, whereas Nebbiolo is the serious grape variety. So they can release this wine earlier, and it is a wine that's to be drunk relatively young. So Barbera typically is, it's low tannin and it has this really bright acidity that really jumps out of the glass. And so
it seems to be a real theme that we're talking to a lot of the winemakers, and acidity out of orange is a bit of a theme, natural acidity and that and the fruit that sort of attaches to that sort of backbone.
It gives the wines real brightness So Barbera, I mean, we've been growing it. So we planted that back in the late 90s, and it's been pretty consistent for us.
Yep.
Like all these varieties, you learn a bit about it in the early years about its own intricacies.
Yep. So after 25 years, you should be getting pretty good.
But you're still in the lap of the gods, aren't you, when you're growing fruit? So
That's
you just
right.
don't know.
You're a farmer at the end of the day. It's the weather and the
But it's been pretty consistent for us, and it's a medium-bodied wine, and it's got that. We're talking about that natural acidity. It really brings that wine, and you can see even when you're in the vineyard and you're looking at that fruit when you're getting close to picking it, and you're looking for those really bright cherries and black fruits, dark fruits that are, and it's almost this confectionery that you get there, and you really see that coming through in the wine. We don't use, we do use new oak barrels. We do mature it in combination of new and old oak, just to try and sort of build it, because it doesn't have a lot of tannin there. We just try and sort
you
of
get that nice balance
layers.
with that oak there. So lunchtime wine.
That's right.
So we're moving on to dinner. I guess we step up to the Shiraz Viognier, and again, Viognier is a white variety.
That's right.
Why do you go putting that in your red wine?
Well, look, Shiraz.
And how much do you put in that?
So the backstory again with Shiraz Viognier is it's a Shiraz Viognier. So they make a lot of this wine. It's traditional winemaking method throughout the world, and in particular the Rhone Valley. The famous wines of the Côte de Rôté, they're wines that Shiraz Viognier. They're both Viognier and Shiraz grow side by side in those vineyards. So the Viognier, the reason why we co-ferment them, so we pick them at the same time. Viognier is a later ripening white variety, so it's generally pretty ripe about the same time we pick Shiraz. So the aim with the Shiraz Viognier is that the Viognier will then, co-fermentation, it'll help soften the tannins in cool climate reds.
And it really tends to lift the vibrancy of the floral.
That's right, and also a bit of mouthfeel. So we're not talking a big volume, we're only talking about 5%, and we sort of pick, and it can be a little bit arbitrary, you go down and pick a couple of bins out of the Viognier and the Shiraz, and then you can if you've gone a bit heavy with it, you can then back blend with a bit of straight Shiraz that you might have in the winery as well. So there's a bit of flexibility.
It's pretty much a paddock blend to start with. You tweak it and work it.
Yeah, but it doesn't. Some people think that with Viognier in there, you're going to end up with something like a rosé. But it actually, the chemistry behind it is it will actually help the stabilise the anthocyanins, the black colours in the grapes.
I think a lot of winemakers use a bit of Viognier, but don't necessarily put on the label.
Or a bit of that's right. I mean, so
or a bit of Trameter these days. So there's a few other things.
That's right. There could be anything in there.
That's looking particularly good.
So the Viognier, the Shiraz Viognier. So it is it's a variety that's been consistent for us. We grow a lot of Shiraz out in the vineyard, and the Viognier we've consistently done it. There was a bit of a fad where there was a lot of Shiraz Viognier out there.
That's
but
right.
I think the Shiraz Viogniers that are remaining that probably are. I mean, you obviously got Clonakilla as probably the most famous one in Australia. Icon, so. But I think cool climate wines with the Viognier there is
it really lends itself to. No, that's fantastic.
A bit of softness.
So we've been talking to a few of the winemakers around here, and if you couldn't just drink Angullong, which I know you obviously just do, but what other winery around here is doing a good job and that's that sort of shines a bit of beacon on orange?
Yeah, look, I think as a region, we've got so many new winemakers that have
Which is
and obviously
exciting for the
established.
region.
Yeah. So you've obviously got really established winemakers that have helped establish this region, like Bloodwood. You know, their wines are terrific, and
That's right.
so
Steve
always-
Wells, his new Malbec's looking really good, and his Riesling's obviously.
Yeah, that rosé's always just been.
That's right. He's been making rosé
Yeah.
before it was trendy.
So I always loved drinking those wines, and also trying, wines from some of our smaller, newer winemakers on the block. So
Ricard and
Will
Nutella
and Matt wines. So that's really
it's
good,
exciting.
and it's great to see them doing that, going out and doing their own
Absolutely.
thing. And
No, I think it's exciting for the region.
Yeah.
So Ben, thank you very much for our time. The wines are looking really good, and I think you
you.
should be proud of those. So, cheers.
Yeah, cheers, Dave. Thank you.
Thanks.